Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go through and tell you what you need to know, what you need to expect if you have your first fight without shin pads approaching. Because I know there's probably legit concern now with Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman, and most recently Conor McGregor suffering shin injuries. So I want to go through with you what you can do to prepare, what you need to expect, and really how scared you need to be about the whole situation of potentially slamming shins into somebody else's shin without that protection. Guys, intro first, and then we'll get into everything you need to know about this conversation. Alright guys, the very first thing to understand about shin pads is every province, every state, even countries all have different requirements. That means that when I first started my career, I didn't have any shin pads in any of my fights until my 8th fight. That was my one and only fight where I had protection over my legs. And that's just because at the time period when I was competing, it wasn't a requirement. Now it is. Anybody who has their first, second, third, I think even 4th and 5th fight in my province is required to have headgear and shin protection. I just wanted you guys to understand that because every province, state has a different rule restriction, and you don't want to all of a sudden compete in a different state, never have taken the shin pads off, and then all of a sudden go, oh shoot, I wasn't ready for this, I wasn't expecting it. So just be aware that things change wherever you compete in terms of shin pads or no shin pads and number of fights you have had. Now next guys, I want to talk about what you need to expect, what is very important about competing without shin pads, because when you have the shin pads on, first off, you can just blast away on those low kicks. You can throw up to the body and there's no real repercussion to anybody blocking. If you throw a low kick and your opponent lifts the shin up and you clash in, but you both have shin pads, it's kind of like, oh, whatever, just like when you spar. But once you lose those shin pads, setting up and timing becomes so much more important, and you need to understand and train that way with the right mindset that we need to land the kicks on the thigh and not have people checking with their knee or their shin, because one or two of those and you might end up like some of the fighters on the ground with a sore shin, and you just don't want that. So really work when you're in the gym and you're having your first fight without shin pads, really work on, set up, draw the attention up high, and then chop, instead of just running out and blasting low kicks with no setup. The next thing you want to be very wary of is which part of your leg are you striking with. When you have shin pads on, you can get away with really anywhere. But if you keep firing kicks and you end up landing on the instep with no shin pad, it's very easy, especially if you catch a knee or an elbow, it's very easy for that leg to give out or just explode with swelling. So be very aware that you're either landing with a strong portion of your foot or you're landing with the shin, but making sure you 100% avoiding the instep of your foot. Just things get a little more intricate, keeping yourself safe without the shin pad. Now also remember that blocking will end up changing without the shin pad. When somebody has a shin pad, I can double arm block, or I can even sometimes get away with no block. Somebody kicks and I just leave this hand up. That's all I need, one arm blocking. But as soon as those shin pads are removed, you need to be much better at either, knee to elbow, or double blocking or catching and scooping. You need to make sure your blocking is on point and you're not just eating away on the bicep, because it makes a world of difference, shin pad versus no shin pad, when it comes to protecting yourself. And the final thing that I want you guys to really understand about the difference, it's not so much the pain in the fight. I've never noticed a massive difference in the fight going, holy smokes, my shins are just dying in the middle of competition. But post competition, 100% my shins are sore, they're bruised, they're banged up, they're swollen, and I need to make sure I ice them right away. So if you come out from a fight and you're going, whew, shins are definitely hurting a little bit, well, wait till the next day and that pain will intensify. It will 3, 4, 5 times increase, and then all of a sudden you're going, man, I really wished I would have taken the time to ice my shins post-fight. Now I want to move on quickly and talk about what we need to do differently in terms of preparing for a fight without shin pads, because a lot of people probably go, ooh, okay, no shin pads, maybe I should spar with no shin pads just as hard as I normally do to really get used to it. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually tried that leading up to a couple fights. When I was having my first couple, I would okay, lose the shin pads, we're gonna test this out and make it as real as possible. In my opinion, looking back, not necessary. You want to keep doing what you're normally doing, maybe some super light Thai style sparring without the shin pads, but you're not banging the shins in any way during that kind of training. So in my opinion, it's really pointless. You want to go in and do your normal hard sparring. Maybe instead of a big twin shin pad, you go down to sort of a thinner cloth one just to make things a little bit more realistic, a little bit more on point. But keep sparring with your shin pads on and recognize the conditioning of the shin is not coming from sparring, but it's going to come from you banging away on hard Thai pads or kicking a bag that's fairly solid. You don't need to go out and roll your shins with a bottle or get a hammer and tap away on your shins. I've never done that. My shins always hold up in the fight. And I've had 40 plus fights where my shins have not given out. We're talking more about getting pads that aren't really soft. If you're hitting a pad and you can squish your finger into it, it's like bloop, bloop, that's not a good pad. You need a nice solid pad that's hard, like kicking somebody's bicep or catching an elbow or something. When you kick those pads and your shins are unconditioned, you're going to feel it. You might go home the next day and go, oh, my shins are bruised. Holy smokes, I hate kicking those pads. Guess what? Do that for a month, 2 months, and then you won't even notice it anymore. That's the easiest way to condition your shins. Nice, solid Thai pads, nice, solid bag. So ultimately, guys, do you need to be scared? Do you need to be concerned about fighting with no shin pads? Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, it is a little bit scarier. Yes, you will get bruised. But no, you don't have to worry in the sense that your shin is just going to snap and it's going to give out and you're going to be on the ground crying because your leg is just in half. The chance of that happening is so minor, so minute, it's not even a thought that goes through my head when I go in and compete. But what does go through my head is me throwing a kick when I don't set it up, the guy checking it, me going, oh my gosh, this is gonna hurt so much tomorrow. You don't feel it in the moment, but after, you 100% do. That's the part that kind of gets on me. But honestly, in the scale of my thighs getting damaged, my stomach taking impact, my head, not getting concussed, the shin is way below all of those. First for me, it's condition the thighs. Make sure those are rock solid. Next is have a solid stomach. Nobody's going to put me down. And then obviously I make sure my defense is on point. Shins are a far, far distant thought for me. But that doesn't mean your concern is unjustified. Guys, just make sure you go through, you do your pad work on the hard pads, you do some sparring with maybe some smaller shin pads, and you just recognize that the defense changes up a little bit, and you should have people throwing at you in drilling without shin pads just so you can get used to proper technique and how it's going to feel. If you're getting hit with a shin pad and you're going, 70% of the weight here and 30% here, this arm is not going to last without shin pads. But if you're going 70 here and 30 on the back arm, then sure, you're going to be fine. Anyway, guys, I hope anybody out there who has an upcoming fight, it's going to be your first one without shin pads, I hope this video helps put your mind at ease. Do your training like normal, make the small little tweaks that I suggested, jump in the ring, do awesome, get a win, and just know you'll have a little bit of bruising the next day, but it goes away after 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, maybe a week at most. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give it a like. If you have not already, get subscribed, join the channel, train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another video.